Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Event Tech World Digital Demo Drop-In. I'm Vanessa Lovett. I'm the founder of Event Tech World, and I have to say I'm really pretty excited about today's because I've set a challenge for all of the individuals who are going to be leading demos with us today. So I'm going to ask them all to just turn on their cameras briefly. We don't need audio yet, folks, and I will give them a quick hello as to who we have got. We have got Luke, who is going to be demoing first from VenueIQ. We then have John, who will be doing the demo from Crowd Connected. Next up will be Matthew. Matthew joins us from Zenus. And last but definitely not least, and I know you're all going to stick around for this, we have Katie from Bizzabo. Folks, turn off your cameras again for a bit, and I have a few updates for our audience before we get going. So the first thing I need is proof of life. I need to know you're awake, you're alive, you're engaged. So find that emoji button at the bottom. It says react and pick any emoji that you want. Anything, just show us you're alive. On the last one, it was the first day of the World Cup. We had quite a few footballs coming through. Feel free to be creative with your emojis and please use them throughout the demos because they genuinely help us to read the room a little bit so we know what's going on. If you love what you see, send us a unicorn maybe. Go wild. Please use the chat as well. The chat is there for you to ask questions, perhaps to each other as audience members, but you can ask questions to our demo leaders too. I allow enough time that I should be able to ask all of them at least one, maybe even two questions at the end. And then anything we don't get to, they'll either answer live online or we'll answer afterwards and put it into the post demo drop-in summary email that you will all get. Stay active, stay curious, stay engaged. This is a window of opportunity for all of you. 10 minutes per platform, compare them side by side. This is for you to be time efficient and learn more about exactly what is out there. Now, a couple of things just before we get into these 10-minute demos. Several Event Tech World events coming up that I would love you to know about. First one, let's go in chronological order. Next Tuesday in Canary Wharf. This one's for exhibition leaders. And actually, we're going to be talking about exactly the same thing, attendee behaviour tracking. Next one is the 14th of July. This is the Insider Exchange. That's in a beautiful members club just by Marble Arch. And that's an entire afternoon. We cover many different topics there. And then the last in-person meeting of the, I'm going to say of summer, is 15th of July is an agency leaders event on how to be a great event tech partner to your customers. So let's now get into the good stuff. Luke, please turn on your camera, please turn on your audio, and the metaphorical floor is now yours. I will still be here, but I'm going to switch my camera and audio off and let you go for it.
Awesome. Thank you, Vanessa. And as you mentioned, quite the gauntlet that you've thrown down for us. So I'll be moving at a very quick pace. But hi, everyone. I'm Luke. I'm the head of sales at VenueIQ, employee number one many years ago now. So I've seen us go from in the dark ages for this right the way to the early adopters that we're in right now. So I'm going to break down our solution into three phases, our Bluetooth tracking. Phase one is the hardware, okay? How our tracking solution works is through these. These are Bluetooth beacons. They're the same thing. One sticks to the badge, one goes onto a lanyard, and these are assigned to a person via this QR code here when they collect their badge. That's done on self-service machines or via an app that we can provide to any manned stations. We've done this anywhere from 200 to 15,000 people, so it's a very smooth process. Once someone has been given one of these beacons, we do not need to scan them ever again. And why we don't have to is because of these. These are called gateways. These are completely wireless, battery-powered devices that are fitted into sessions, exhibitions, networking areas, activations, anything where you need data, we fit them, and they come with three radiuses: immediate, near, far, because accuracy matters. These are done in meters. So for smaller spaces, it can be 1 meter, 2 meter, 3 meter. For larger session rooms, it could be 5 meters, 10 meters, 15 meters. And these ping every 20 seconds with what's around them. That is culminated together to create what we call dwell time. Okay, so we're not tracking crowds here, we're tracking individuals. Once this beacon comes over, we know not just their name and their job title and company, but any of the beautiful registration questions that you've managed to gather from them. Okay, so that's the hardware. Um, Next is the interpretive layer, okay? Because Bluetooth will tell you the location. What we're trying to do is tell you the behavior. So inside of this, we will talk about it, will work out with you dwell times, session attendance rules, sessioning or sponsor engagement scoring, configurable business rules, because collecting data isn't really the hard part. Interpreting it is where the value really comes from. Okay. In this case, standing in the doorway of a session for 10, 15 seconds isn't that useful as an attendance. What we might say is to count as being in a session or to count as being at a booth space, we'll mark out where they need to be in that room, or if it's open sided, you can look at the proximity to the session and look at the duration of time they need to be there. Could be 2 minutes, could be 5 minutes in order for them to count as being in there. Okay. Once you've got that clean behavioral data, asking questions about it becomes the easy part. Or the easier part, I should say, which then brings us on to the bit where I'll spend most of my time, which is reporting. Okay. Anybody can tell you that 600 people walk past your booth. That's quite a so what report, really. What we want to talk about is who those 600 people were. Where did they come from? On what level of engagement did they bring to it? Now, we report this in two ways. Okay, the first one, I'm going to share my screen here, is through our live dashboard. Okay, now this live dashboard can run anywhere up to 2 minutes behind real time, so very, very, very up to date. It's on a browser, so you can just update it. We can build one for each one of your teams. We can build one for each one of your sponsors at the event. And this is a demo one that we've got out there. You can see we look at number of people on site. We can break it down into companies, into reps, into high-level job titles. We can overlay days over each other and even look at your conversion from day one to day two or year one to year two in our dashboard here. They're all completely bespoke in the charts that we build. And you can see we even put session numbers underneath here as well. Very high-level stuff, very useful. But one thing that I mentioned in terms of reporting is the why and giving a bit more depth behind that 600 people who came to a booth. And one of the ways you do this is via behavior scoring. Inside of this, we can look at a sponsor's package, or we can look at content that revolves around the solution that this sponsor is providing, and we can behavior score someone who came to a booth space. We can look at the level of engagement, i.e., the amount of time they've spent, and combining together all of the things they've done on site, we can provide a behavior score or an intent score into why someone should buy. This means that when I meet James Smith or Sam Hill, I'm going to understand the gravity of that meeting and the areas that they've been to or the sessions they've attended before that meeting's happened, as well as after. We break it down into region, we break it down into countries. These are all completely bespoke inside of here, okay? Here's a real life version of one that we did for an event called MSP Global. And again, inside of here, we look at day one, day two, day three, total people on site, booth visitors, HVA, high value attendees that we've put together. We break these people down into lists, again, with that behavior score, as well as doing it via region. This helps you to benchmark with your sponsors throughout the event on what they've been up to so that you can help to either improve it going forward, monitor that they're happy, and drive some of that engagement that they're already enjoying as part of their event. The second part of live reporting that we do is a brand new software called Ask Victor. This is an AI tool that is really being used to bridge the gap between this beautiful lake of data and meaningful, actionable formats to use. Okay, some key examples here. Give me a social media post for day one. Using that data from this event, it's able to say, this is how many people have come. Much like most of AI, it won't get you 100% of the way there, but this will get rid of that blank page phobia and will allow you to have data-backed tools and answers throughout. High level is your social media posts. Second one could be understanding for each day, which was the most popular topic, so that you can help drive traffic towards there, sponsors towards there, as well as finding the ones that are least engaged with, so you can start to make some on-site improvements. Right the way up to really in-depth understanding why should Blackwell rebook for next year. Here's a reason why they should: strong performance, lead quality, high quality session engagements, premium reach, strategic market position, and some ROI indicators. You can even go deeper. They're trying to target CEOs on site. What's the best package for us to do that? You can see here it's recommending premium VIP lounge sponsorship, strategic booth position, effective focus or executive focus session strategy. This really is going to take away all of the unknowns that you see on site with your sponsor team and give them a data-backed rationale for why they should be what they should be doing going forward. Okay. So as I said, this is all about telling you what happened and what could be done in the future. The second part I'm going to briefly share on, hoping I'm still kind of ish on time, is going to be examples of then the post-event report that we gather afterwards. These are split into high-level sponsor reports, really driving home board-level buy-in for what people have been up to, some key insights and highlights that they've had at the show, breakdown via geography, via their engagement level at the booth, how long somebody has spent there, and the visitor by industry as a few examples. The big and most beautiful part of this is actually the insights we then deliver to you to help generate more data-driven decisions, but for you as an organizer, breaking down year-on-year attendance for each day or the number of multi-days that someone attends, the cohort behavior that someone might have. An example of a C-suite company of 250 plus, what they get up to on site, hourly engagements, session engagements versus capacity. You can clearly tell the 10 minutes is really at the heart of me rushing through this. And back onto the why is, even answering for each of these stages, what do people do in that 30-minute window post-event, and what can we do to help improve that going forward? The black area being the exhibition. This is an exhibition-focused event, and naturally, this is a great example of something that clearly generates value. I'll close off with this. Okay, anyone can collect location data. The real challenge is turning it into decisions and empowering decisions for your next year's event or your next event's iteration. That's why we don't call ourselves a tracking company. We call ourselves an intelligence company that happens to use Bluetooth. Okay. And I've hopefully left some time for one half question potentially, but
Luke,
thank you,
you've done a
everyone.
stunning job. Well done. You are bang on time and you have covered so much. I think the audience probably now get a feel for why I find this such a fascinating tech area, because this is, in my opinion, not just VenueIQ. Everyone we're going to see today is this is game-changing tech, in
You
my
can
opinion.
say just VenueIQ.
You have had 5 questions. We are not going to get time for them all, but I really hope that you will go into the chat and answer some of them. I'm going to put one to you straight away. Are these metrics exportable, and what formats are available for export?
So, really good question here. All of them, all of those charts that you've seen together, each chart you are provided the raw data of what makes that up. Okay, if I say there's 100 people inside of a session, you'll see those 100 people and the time they've spent inside of there. The format is completely up to you. We can go very high level and put it into an Excel. For some of our more advanced clients, we put it directly into BigQuery for them to put into their wider data analysis, and we put that in via API. And for some of our clients, we put it into a format that can go directly into their CRM. So that element of it is very, very bespoke because we have the raw data.
Okay, great. Last question, really quick answer if you could. How accurate is the person's location? So if we can get
It's
in a meterage range or something.
1 square meter.
Not bad. All right, Luke, your work is done. Thank you so much. Pop your camera off and your audio off. And
Thank you,
John,
everyone.
I'm connected. If you could come on and it's your turn. Go for it. I'm going to be in the background again. The floor is yours.
Great. Thanks, Vanessa. Hi, everyone. I wasn't going to do PowerPoint, and I'm really not. This is just a little bit of wallpaper before I get into the console. So our solution, we do call it attendee tracking because that's what it is. And the watchword with what we do is simplicity. Simplicity, ease of setup, speed of setup. The problem we're trying to solve, it's the awkwardness of the traditional badge scanning. It's freelance staff or volunteers that you don't need, that are an unwanted cost, that may not turn up. They may make mistakes. They create friction for your attendees, causing them to wait in queues, being scanned in, scanned out, etc., etc., etc. Our customers are very much the organisers that really need that session attendance data. Anyone else, really, this solution isn't for you. So this illustrates that awkwardness of badge scanning that we're trying to replace. The other side of it, of course, is the RFID entrance kit, which is cumbersome, requires teams of people on site and on-site calibration. We're getting rid of all of those things. We're creating a seamless flow of attendees in and out of sessions, nobody needing to touch them with badge scanning or RFID equipment. How do we do that? We plug in a single gateway. That's a single gateway for each floor of conference that's being tracked. In a typical venue of, say, 1,000, 2,000 attendees, much larger venues, say US-style convention centres, maybe you'd be looking at 3 or 4 of these per floor. But generally, 1 per floor in a typical venue. And that's the brain of the system. That plugs into just power and Ethernet. It starts the network that is completed by these things, sensors, otherwise known as beacons, or indeed pucks. They're cheap and plentiful. We supply as many of them as are required. They're battery powered. They all come with brand new batteries. We do all the batterying and as part of our stock management, as well as shipping. And they come with 3M command strips, which affix them to the walls of venues. And we're doing that around the world about 2 to 3 times a week, mainly in the US, it's fair to say at the moment. So these things do the heavy lifting. They're emitting a radio frequency signal. They're talking to each other. That signal picks up the minute-by-minute ping of the tag that's worn around the neck of each attendee on the lanyard like that. And that ping, being picked up by the network of beacons, places the attendee in each session room for a number of minutes. That means once the attendee has the tag on and their tag has been paired with the badge, your badge ID, which we'll come on to in a second, they're in the event and they don't need to be scanned by anyone or do anything again. The organizer has a record of every single session room and session they've been in and for how long. So I'm just going to show you what that looks like on an event we did in January. This is the PCMA Convening Leaders event. This is what the console looks like. 3,500 tags for this one, 3,500 attendees, 32 places configured. That's 32 session rooms. That's a lot of pain. And just to give you a quick view of the inverted commas back end of the console, here you can see every single beacon by beacon. They're all red because, of course, the event's not going on anymore. And technically, the batteries are flat. And obviously, when the event's running, these would be green. But just so you can see the granularity of the system, you can see absolutely every piece of hardware.
John, sorry to interrupt you. Did you mean to be screen sharing at the moment?
Yes, I did, yeah.
You're not screen sharing yet.
Oh,
so
no.
You give that another go. Don't worry. It's all right.
This is the only significant screen so far.
John's client has started screen sharing. Double click to enter full screen mode. Ah, we got you. You're on.
Got me.
We've got
right.
You. Maybe you can have an extra minute, John, because that
should have checked that at the start.
Don't worry, all good.
And I was just earlier on, I was saying how much I like Zoom as well. Obviously, don't use it enough. But yeah, this is the only. So we'll just go back to this starting screen of our console. PCMA convening leaders, an event we did in January, 3,500 attendees at this event. We've got a granular view, 32 session rooms being tracked. Again, granularity. And this screen is showing beacon by beacon in every room. They're showing battery flat because obviously the batteries are flat by now. But the point is you can see absolutely every piece of hardware. We typically send one person to run a managed service on this solution, though it's worth mentioning we have designed the solution to be self-service. And about just under a third of our customers now do choose to self-service the solution, often taking the managed service for the first time and then feeling confident enough to do it on their own. So jumping to the money shot, if you like, let's imagine the event is either running or has run. We've got a real-time view of the agenda here. We could jump into a session at random and we can see each of the tags in the session. Tag assigned to a badge ID. So this badge ID can be defined exactly as you want or you need. It can have identifiers in it as we have here, or it could be completely anonymized. I mentioned before about the pairing process. That happens just with a quick double scan on an app that we provide, on phones that we provide on a rental basis. So at the point of registration, the badge attendant, whose job it would normally be to print the badge out of the printer, they print the badge out of the printer, attach it to a lanyard with our tag on it. They'd scan. Our app would ping with a green tick. That means John doesn't need to be scanned again. I can just go into all of the sessions because we are linking our meaningless tracking identifier with your badge ID. And of course, the important part here is the dwell time, which is showing that engagement, which of course is the most meaningful thing of all. Use cases for this solution are in reverse order. In marketing intelligence, behavioral intelligence for programming for next year, i.e., was the big room really required? Was the expensive high investment speaker really required? The second thing is, and a growing use case actually, is CPD or CEU credits. Very a vast swathe of work and manual labor required for something that's key critical to attendees. And then the most popular thing still is providing that session attendance data for sponsors, which of course can be done very, very quickly indeed. And I think I'm running out of time, so I'm just going to very quickly show you what the output looks like. And it's deliberately not sexy. It's a CSV. It's the session. It's the start time. It's the end time. It's where it is. It's the badge ID. This can be mapped with things like attendee type, which of course then becomes very meaningful with the dwell time. And in short order, it's then easy to extrapolate reports like this that are then it's ready to share with either internal teams or sponsors. But we've focused on making the output very, very simple, as well as the setup, which is the kind of one of our core USPs. I think I'm about on time.
Well done, John. You overcame the classic screen share issue as well. You have questions also. One of the questions is around cost. Anything cost-based, I always recommend people on the demo to contact the provider directly because it's always going to depend on what your use case is. So strongly recommend you get in touch with John. His email is just a little bit higher up in the chat. Couple of other questions that have come through. How long do the batteries last in the beacons?
Batteries in the beacons last 2 weeks. And it's our experience that, well, we've yet to come across a conference convention that lasts that length of time. So it's a 2-week shelf life for the batteries. And we tend to, as a rule, always put new batteries in before they go out to an event.
Yes, makes sense. And then there's a couple of questions around the tags that go onto the lanyard. Do they need to be attached to each lanyard? Are they easy to remove? And how many go missing per event?
They do need to be attached to each lanyard. They snap on and snap off like this. It takes 4 people an hour to do 1,000. It is a preparation step that's required the night before registration, because ideally you want your lanyard, you want your tags hanging up on lanyards on trees, ready to go by the registration desk.
Yeah.
We reuse everything. We reuse all the hardware. It means we reuse this. Quick note on pricing. To keep things simple, we price purely on how many of these you need. These have got the value. These don't. These don't really. These need to be collected in. We've got a playbook for collecting them in and minimizing the tag return cost. We charge at cost for lost tags, which is £4 a tag. But we help you minimize that unreturned rate, and we budget for it up front. If that's not getting too close to pricing, so I'm going to stay away from
No,
it.
no, it's all right. I'm very happy for you to address pricing, but I know it's sometimes quite hard for you to do that. There are more questions for you in the chat, John. So it would be great if you could hop in there and answer some of those. Thank you very much. If you could turn off your camera and audio. And Matthew from Zenus, come and join us. Audience, this is a completely different sort of solution that you're about to see now. So we're going on a different journey here. Look alive, folks, because this is a different angle. John, can you find the video button? Magic, thank you. Matthew, over to you, 10 minutes.
Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and start a timer because I will go over if you allow it. Good morning from Austin, Texas, here in the US. My name's Matt Hafer. I lead the sales team here at Zenus. And what we're providing it's very similar in the attendee engagement, but we're also looking into the sentiment analytics for the event space. And so I'm going to start off with just a little bit of hardware. And so I hope you can see me. I have the sensor. So this is not a wearable. This is something that you would actually install in a physical place or on a mic stand, something like that. And it plugs into our Zenus CPU. And so this actually houses 3 different AI models and uses an NVIDIA AI chip, which allows us to gather various metrics. These are going to include things like aisle traffic, dwell time, stop rate, but as well as energy. And so what really differentiates us in the marketplace is that all of the light that enters this sensor is getting analyzed 5 times per second. And so what it's doing is it's looking for changes in facial expression. And we're talking the eyes, the nose, the cheeks, the chin, the lips, all of these changes over time. And it's associating a score. And it does that by first object detection, and then it's going to determine what those changes in expression are, provide that score, and allow us to provide a engagement from an aggregate level. All of this is done without ever compromising attendee privacy. At no point do the sensors or the CPU ever store or even capture any personally identifiable information or photo or video. There is nothing that you could get on this device that would lead you back to an individual person. And so what that means is that we're able to provide aggregate level volume-based statistics for things like traffic, all in a way that never requires user interaction from the attendee, either by having to scan or check in or whatever that might look like, but still be able to gather those metrics to either inform event design, but then also validate ROI. And we provide an executive report, which allows you to speak the same language, which is data, in order to validate spend, validate that ROI. So I do have a few things that I do want to just kind of go over. I know nobody else used their PowerPoints, but I promise it'll be brief. So hopefully everybody can see that.
Yeah, we've got you.
Awesome. So the way that we do this is that we're doing both session content, but also booth metrics. And so when it comes to booth or activation metrics, we tend to put we're measuring into 2 different buckets. And so that's going to be the aisle and the internal. We're looking for things like impressions. These are non-unique. Once again, we're anonymizing the data that we receive. We're also looking for stop rate, that aisle energy. And then we move it into the internal space. We're looking for things like extended visits, those deeper engagements that you're having with attendees, as well as the dwell time, both in the space itself, but then also where in your internal space are your attendees spending that amount of time. and then comparing the internal energy with that aisle energy. And so we don't just do this overall, we can also do it by demographic. So we're talking male, female, as well as age. So typically in ranges of 20, so thinking, over 20, under 40, over 40, so on and so forth. When it comes to the session content or audience metrics, we only have to gather a small sample size, about 15–20% of your audience, in order to provide a similar level of engagement statistics for that content. So if it's your education, if it's your panels, your workshops, your demos, anything like that, you are able to get that metric data. And I actually have a little video here. Can you guys still see this? Can I get confirmation?
Yes, yeah, we can. Let's see how the video goes.
All right. So as you can see here, go right here. We're able to take any content, whether that be the educations or panels, and if you provide the recording for that, we can actually sync the data from the audience engagement, both by the overall, but then also male, female, under 40 and over 40 in this instance. And then you're able to scrub through that video to actually see what those changes in engagement are so that you can identify where those high impact and maybe less impactful moments were in the content so that you can plan that out better for the future, create a better flow. Maybe I want those moments to have more impact at a certain time. Provide feedback to speakers. Once again, validate internal versus external. It really depends on the objectives, but you really can do so much. And from a real-time perspective, let's go back here. I do have our dashboard as well. And so from an exhibitor and a session content perspective, we do have the ability to view a live dashboard. It updates every 5 minutes. And in this case, it's a sandbox. This is all anonymized data, but it gives you the ability to see, like I said, in real time, what the changes of your exhibit or your session content are as they are happening, allowing you to make changes as days go on. So you're getting your visits, your dwell time, that energy score. Extended visits, these are visits that are typically longer than a minute. Your aisle traffic versus your internal, and you can see that once again over the course of time. For session content, I can actually compare sessions. So if I want to, in this particular instance, I have it set up to where it's session 1 and session 1, because I can actually go in here and I can show all of the different measurements for engagement. It's taking a little bit of time. Maybe I shouldn't have chosen them all. So you can see it's kind of crazy, but I can also, if I wanted to go specifically and see how did my content engage with the female audience versus the male audience. So if I'm looking at the same exact session, I can actually see where those peaks and valleys were in terms of engagement. At 1040, we had a 77 versus the 1040, we had a 78. So relatively the same, but I do see a big dip here at 1049 that I'm not seeing here. So what could that look like? How can we make changes to drive that content? Or I can, of course, compare 2 different sessions in order to gauge whether or not the impact of my audience. As far as a deliverable goes, we also do an executive report. When it comes to the booth spaces, we're looking at doing an overall coverage of the space. And we're showing you, they're designed in such a way so that anybody could pick one of these up and understand what they're looking at and make an informed decision. And so once again, it's all about leveling that playing field when it comes to using data to speak the same language with maybe internal stakeholders that didn't take part in the event or that weren't present. So we always provide an overall coverage. We do our overall insights. This is a conversation that's typically had with those that were there so that we can say, hey, here's some of the highlights for the overview of the space. And then we break it down by each metric. We're going into the aisle traffic. Where does that aisle come from? We're looking at the booth traffic. As far as once they come into that space, where am I seeing the most engagement? I'm seeing a lot of traffic here at the LED wall. As far as dwell time, I'm seeing a lot of it in here on our table area, which makes sense because if you're sitting down, you tend to stay a little bit longer. And then I can go through into my energy. I can see my aisle versus my internal, but I can also say, oh, wow, I got a lot of high energy here, but I really had such low traffic and dwell time. What's going on here? It turns out that, it was a little bit stuffy in this area. And so it allowed the organizers in order to go in there and move things around because they can see where that energy score is high, but maybe the dwell time is low simply because of the placement. And so it really does allow for real-time changes like that. We can go really, really deep into the weeds when it comes to in-booth presentations. We can say, hey, what was that engagement before, during, and after? One thing that I always like to mention is that, we're not talking about performance here, we're talking about engagement. And so when it comes to the beforehand, I've got an 81. I actually do want to see the engagement or that sentiment score drop a little bit during my presentation because it's indicating that I'm focusing. I become more stoic as I'm engaged into a conversation. And then afterwards, I want to see that my engagement was higher than it was when I started. And so this is a good indicator of how that energy changes based on the presentations that are being given. And then, of course, there's always the funnel. Everybody loves their funnels. We can take that traffic, the visits, the extent of visits. We can even take lead data that's provided by the exhibitors and use that to create a deeper funnel. So as I run here into my last minute, I'm just going to kind of switch over to the sessions report, where we're really able to go really deep into the weeds, day over day, demos versus workshops versus how was our opening and closing, internal speaker energy versus external, meals, no meals. I mean, really, you can really determine how you want this to break down. Consecutive talks. At what point is my audience feeling fatigue? So on and so forth. The key moments. This is very useful in terms of determining, hey, what is that emotional storytelling and that journey of the attendee, and how can we change it? So it really, really is dependent upon those objectives and what you want to see, and are you seeing that? And if not, how can we provide data for you to defend that decision to make those changes? And that is my 10 minutes. So hopefully I didn't go too fast. So much nuance that
Well done. I know
here all
there are
day.
lots of other things you could have shown us as well. And I just to reiterate to the audience, I have given all of these demonstration leaders a very hard task here. Matthew, there's a question that I suspect is one of the most commonly encountered questions that you receive. Biometric security concerns. The question is, do you have a secure process to adhere to security acts such as the EU AI Act? That's the
Yes.
specific question, but there may be a larger answer.
No, I would have been a little bit surprised had we not. Absolutely. So we actually have two letters from the Global Data Protection Board, and we are GDPR compliant in the EU. So specifically, our technology has been assessed, and we have these, like I said, these two letters which indicate that we're not facial recognition. So we call ourselves facial analysis. And so because we are at no point capturing or storing any photo or video data, that literally does not exist, it's processed in real time, we are able to avoid certain snags that come, especially in the EU, where there's very strict privacy and compliance regulations. And so in most cases, it ends up being maybe putting signage up. But as far as the process goes in terms of, are we compliant within those? Yes, we are. And in most cases in the EU, we do not require opting in or signage, though we always recommend putting something on your on a registration page if you can. But typically speaking, at least in the EU, there are certain areas. There's only one state in the US that has an issue with it. But yeah, no, we are compliant with the EU.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Matthew, you have been brilliant. It's much appreciated. I also commented on your fabulous backdrop, which is just like
my swag wall.
Everything of events that can ever be. Thank you very much for taking the time. If you have any more questions for Matthew, pop them into the chat. Matthew, please pop your camera and your video off. That's the same thing, your camera and your audio off. And Katie from Bizzabo, if you would like to join us, please. We would love to see what is again going to be a slightly different approach and way to see what people are actually up to. Katie, thank you so much. Please go for it.
Amazing. All right, I'm going to share my screen. Let's hope this works.
I will
Can
let
I
you.
get
We're good. You're all
thumbs up?
good. All
We're
good to go.
Incredible. Cool. So today we're going to be talking about the KLIK ecosystem, or you might hear it called KLIK by Bizzabo. Essentially, the KLIK ecosystem leverages Bluetooth-enabled wearables and devices to help event organizers prove event ROI to attendees, sponsors, and stakeholders. So in comparison to events using traditional on-site solutions and badging, organizers see on average a 400% increase in the exhibitor leads generated, a 250% increase in networking throughout contact exchanges, and that actually bumps up to 500% if networking is combined with some of the gamification aspects of Click. So what this really is just saying is this is a massive game changer if networking, lead retrieval, and overall engagement are key goals for your events. All right, and it all starts with the Smart Badge. So the Click wearable is affixed to an attendee badge as they check in for the event, and then paired to that unique attendee as the final step at registration, meaning every action taken throughout the event from that point on is tied directly back to that individual. Essentially, Click transforms what is traditionally a passive accessory into an interactive tool for your attendees, sponsors, and organizer teams alike. The primary function of the badge is networking, or as we call it, contact exchange. So the easiest way to think of this is like a digital business card exchange. And this truly becomes the universal icebreaker for your attendees on site. So how does it work? You simply hold two or more badges together and click the button at the bottom. The badges will then light up to indicate a successful contact exchange, and then those attendees can open up their event app to find contact cards and write notes about conversations so that you don't forget what you spoke about. Contact exchanges are nearly instantaneous as well if attendees are within your event space, but each wearable does have local storage on it. So if you were to connect outside of your event venue or at an offsite location, your connections are never lost, and they'll simply sync back to the timeline as soon as you're back within range of one of those Bluetooth hubs at your primary venue. Click does also help simplify that post-event follow-up with your contacts. As I mentioned, once you connect, you will have a contact card that lives in your event app. So it specifically lives in what is called the Click timeline. The Click timeline can be integrated into the event app of your choice. There are some additional functionalities you'd have access to if you were also using Bizzabo as your EMS, but we certainly understand that not everyone is going to have Bizzabo as their event operating system or their event platform, and we don't want that to limit your ability to be able to leverage Click as your on-site and lead retrieval solution. So once you access that timeline, it makes it very simple for you to actually export your contact cards directly to your contact list in your phone, whether you have an Apple or Android device as well. Speaking of follow-up, the Smart Badge now also becomes your sponsor's primary tool for their lead retrieval and reporting. So, apologies, working off of a small screen here. So sponsors are going to use their badges to network the same way as your attendees, which really helps break down that wall between the kind of buyer and seller dynamic that can happen, especially if you have an exhibitor floor. And it really creates a more natural engagement motion. So your sponsors will also access their leads directly within your event app, which removes, again, any variety of third-party lead scanning app or tool. The only difference is that their timeline is going to look a little bit different because it's going to be enhanced with those sponsor functionalities. So first and foremost, they will have the ability to score their leads based on whether they're hot, warm, cold, or not relevant, as well as add notes on the conversation they had. In addition to that, they can also create custom qualification questions for their reps to answer about conversations. So maybe it's a question of, is this a current customer or a net new prospect? What, products are they currently leveraging or interested in? Do they want a demo? And all of that information that those reps fill out about a specific contact will then sync directly back to their exhibitor portal where they can see and access these leads and all of the lead details in real time throughout the event. They can export the data, they can action it on their own terms, and it also removes that level and that extra step for your organizers to have to reconcile and share events or share leads post-event with those sponsors. Now, another way that your sponsors can get additional value at your event is by using touch points. So touch points are digital content buttons that can be hidden behind any type of marketing material, and your attendees simply click their smart badges near the touch point to download that content, again, to their Click timeline. So this can be used for sponsors who might be looking to have like a white paper or a digital brochure. So if a attendee is interested in having some takeaway information, they can simply click their badge to the touch point and walk away. It can also be used by organizers if they want to maybe have a "Where am I now?" in the venue activation. Someone clicks their button and it will pull up a picture of a map with a little star of where they are. It can also be used for various different activations. You can really get incredibly creative with these touch points, and that is what makes them so versatile. As you can see here, there is a gamification hint. That is another thing that you can do with Click that makes it really engaging. Here's just a quick example of what some of the touch point activations can look like. But specifically moving on to gamification, this is where the event can start to get really fun and interesting. So you can actually assign point values to different actions taken using the Click Smart badges. For example, having a contact exchange with a fellow attendee, connecting with specific sponsors or different sponsor tiers, or connecting and engaging with a touch point. So as you are accumulating these points, again, you can assign varying point values for different types of connections, and you can also create custom games and custom badges inside of your Click timeline for your attendees to earn. Maybe once they've connected with 50 attendees, they earn a master networking badge, or you could create a passport game of sorts where once they've connected with all of the sponsors, they earn a different badge, and the badges, of course, are also worth points. This can be used to do any type of rewards that you would like throughout the event, but what keeps it interesting is that there is a live leaderboard. So your attendees can get that healthy competition flowing and see exactly where they're stacking up throughout the event. Now, in addition to gamification as one of those surprise, delight, and fun functionalities of Click, we also have light cues. So the badges are obviously going to light up as you're connecting or engaging with fellow attendees, sponsors, or touch points. But that's not all they can do. They can also be programmed to light up throughout your event for various activations. One really common way we see this done is for light paging. So think about maybe 10 minutes before your keynote session, you want to get all of your attendees moving to your main ballroom. You have the badges start lighting up. You could send a push notification in tandem, and then people start moving into, butts and seats. You can also use it to identify groups with lights. This could be done if maybe you have different breakout groups. One's lit up red, one's lit up green. You don't have to have flags throughout your venue anymore trying to wrangle the cats. And then you could also use it to identify recognition. So maybe you want to highlight all of your sponsors during your keynote or highlight top performers. Can also go full Super Bowl halftime show where you turn down the lights, have music, and then have everyone's badges lighting up to some sort of coordinated light show. Now, what's in it for you as the organizer is really the question I'm normally getting around this time, and that is where tracking comes into play. So while all of these are very attendee and sponsor facing, you as the organizer can also use Click to gather a ton of data. Now we have access control or active tracking, which is most similar to think of like a manual session check-in, where your attendees are either clicking their badge to check in for a session, or if you have limited either capacity sessions or VIP or restricted areas, you can leverage this to actually have a access granted or access denied functionality using the iPad. If you're looking for something a little more hands-free, that's where passive tracking comes into play. This actually is creating geofences around either rooms or zones in your venue so that you're capturing as an attendee's badge enters the zone as well as when they leave. So you're not only getting check-in data, you're also getting their dwell time within a specific zone. Click is a white glove service, so I would love to talk more if you have more questions. I saw the chat was going off a lot, but I haven't had a chance to look at it. But thank you guys so much, and I'm excited to discuss more. I think I'm right at time. I might be a couple seconds over.
You've done wonderfully. Honestly, all demo leaders today get gold stars. Katie, you do have a direct question. It's about the exhibitor portal, and the question is, can exhibitors add conditional questions?
Is there, would you mean like if a certain attendee
I
type is
interpreted
connected?
that as can they put their own questions in that
Yes.
help them identify? A, can they put their own questions in? And B,
Yes.
could they put questions in that would help them actually determine what sort of attendees are engaging?
Yes, so they can customize those questions. Each individual sponsor has the ability to customize what type of questions or any questions at all if they would like to and choose for their reps to have that as an option within the timeline.
Awesome. Beverly, if we haven't quite interpreted that correctly, I'll just stick Katie's email in the chat again, and you can ping her directly to find out more. And also, Katie, I'll ask you the same question because it's come up repeatedly, and I imagine some folks
Yeah.
might be thinking, I want to know, but I'm not going to ask the question again. What's the scalability of this like? What tends to be the size range of events that this really adds value to?
Absolutely. So truthfully, we have Click customers of kind of all sizes. We've seen events as, small as maybe 250 C-level events. We've run events like HubSpot, or I guess this year it's Unbound, but Inbound up to
Yeah, yeah.
10,000. SaaStr, you might have heard of them. So really, the limit does not exist, but we tend to see that our ICP when it comes to Click events tend to be like large B2B companies that are running events with that primary goal of networking, lead retrieval, and really delivering that ROI. So again, we have some different options and versions of what Click can look like, whether that be Click standalone if you're using another EMS, Click with Bizzabo, Click self-service, which is a newer offering for smaller events. So if you are interested, I would love to have a conversation and dig a little bit deeper to see how Click might be a tool to put in your toolkit for your events.
Absolutely brilliant. Katie, thank you so much. I'm going to invite all of our demo leaders to briefly rejoin because you really truly have done a phenomenal job. And I know it's not easy, and I really do appreciate the efforts that you've gone to cover as much as you have, as well as you have. So thank you very, very much indeed. Just as there we go, there's some happy, joyous emojis coming through, which are very well deserved. Everybody's chat, in fact, I'm going to stick it in there again. Sorry, everybody's contact details, I will stick into the chat in order of how they went. I will just do that right now so that you can contact them directly. Thank you. Thank you to the audience. I know these are quite intense, and that is sort of deliberate, but it's so that you get as much information as you can, as efficiently as you can. It's been great. I'm going to ask our discussion leaders to give me a little wave, and I'm going to take a screenshot so that we can use that for some socials. And this has been awesome. Thank you so much, everybody. See you again online at the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.